If you were around when phone books were used, you might remember that these big old books contained the names, addresses, and phone numbers of people in your neighborhood or community who wanted their information to be publicly listed. This is way different from the phone book or contact list you have in your mobile phone. The people who are in your contacts directory gave you their phone numbers for your use only. When using LDAP, there are different authentication levels that can be used to restrict access to certain directories, similar to those big public phone directories or those private mobile phone directories. Maybe you have a directory that you want to make public so anyone can read the entries in the directory, or maybe you just want to keep that data private to only those who need it. We'll discuss how LDAP does this authentication and what methods it uses. We talked about the different operations you can do with LDAP, like add, remove, or modify entries in a directory. Another operation that you can perform is the bind operation, which authenticates clients to the directory server. Let's say you want to log into a website that uses a directory service. You enter your account login information and password. Your information is then sent back to the website. It will use LDAP to check if that user account is a user directory and that the password is valid. If it's valid, then you'll be granted access into that account. You want your data to be protected and encrypted when it's completing this process. There are three common ways to authenticate. The first is anonymous, then simple, and the last is SASL, or Simple Authentication and Security Layer. When using anonymous binding, you aren't actually authenticating at all. Depending on how it's configured, anyone could potentially access that directory, just like our public phone book example. When you use simple authentication, you just need the directory entry name and password. This is usually sent in plain text, meaning it's not secure at all. Another authentication method that's commonly used is SASL authentication. This method can employ the help of security protocols like TLS, which you've already learned about, and Kerberos, which we'll discuss in a minute. SASL authentication requires the client and the directory server to authenticate using some method. One of the most common methods for this authentication is using Kerberos. Kerberos is a network authentication protocol that is used to authenticate user identity, secure the transfer of user credentials, and more. Kerberos by itself can be a complex topic that we'll revisit in the IT security course. If you want to learn more about Kerberos right now, you can check out the supplemental reading right after this lesson. Once the client has successfully authenticated with the LDAP server or directory service, the user will be authorized to use whatever access levels they have. In the next few lessons, we're going to dive deeper into two of the most popular directory services that use LDAP, Active Directory and Open LDAP.